We don't know whether UCC has not done a lot. Now we want to understand this morning the real mandate of UCC, if we can start from there, so that as we accuse it of failing to do things, of not doing things, we know that this is under their docket or this is some other institution.
All right, thank you, Edwin, and good morning once again to the viewers of Family TV. It's a pleasure, a privilege for me to be here. Now, to first things first, the mandate of UCC. UCC, it's a cliche now, but we could say it again, started by law formulated in 2013, the Uganda Communications Act. That's the law that puts UCC into effect, into existence. And basically the mandate...
2013 or
2013.
Okay.
2013. And the mandate is basically to regulate, to act as the umpire of the communication sector. And the communication sector here meaning a broad sector really that includes telecommunication, that includes broadcasting, that includes postal and courier services. Sometimes people forget about this. That also includes radio communication, that includes data communication, and then infrastructure in that area. So basically that's what UCC does. And so within that mandate, within that broad mandate, UCC basically works on licensing for communication services, control, supervision, monitoring, consumer protection issues, and etc. Basically, in brief, that's what I can say about what UCC does.
Okay, you've talked about a consumer, and this is where our emphasis will be on all this. We see a lot of things that happen on social media or on some TV stations, or you listen to some things and you're like, wow, where is UCC in this? How do you protect the consumer?
Basically, our job is it is a very, very important mandate on our part to protect the consumer, because we do exist for the consumer. We are set up as an agents of government, and basically we have that duty to protect the consumer. How do we protect the consumer? We protect the consumer by listening to the consumer, and also to ensure that whatever is in the area, on the broad areas that we've talked about, if it is in telecommunication, to ensure that the consumer is getting a good deal, good quality service at a fairly good price. We also ensure in the broadcasting side, actually a schedule which is under Schedule 4 in the Uganda Communications Act that I talked about. Now, the process is quite elaborate, of course. We do listen to, we have different platform through which we get feedback from the consumer to ensure to check whether they have complaints, and we do have a consumer affairs unit which sits at our office on Communications House, and this is a 24-hour office that basically is there to attend to people's complaints around the clock, and where we have a toll-free line 0800 222 777. So complaints can be made to that through that channel. Complaints can also be made through several other channels, our social media handles, but also for people who do have a complaint about, for instance, when you say social media or radio TV programs, you can also write to our office and raise an official complaint, in which case then their complaint is attended to, whereby, of course, there has to be natural justice in this case. So whoever is, for instance, if there's an operator being accused of an offense one way or another, then this particular operator is called. We convene a lot of meetings at the office to hear both sides, to see the evidence on the table, the complaint on one hand, and then the defense from the person accusing or complaining about anything. And then from that engagement, UCC takes a decision, and that decision can be either way. So, and you know very well that in extreme cases, some programs have had to be stopped or rescheduled, and this is emanating from that this framework of consumer complaint resolution.
Of course, some programs have been stopped and some guidelines have been given, but you realize that sometimes it is a rebrand. a program is stopped and then they rebrand it, call it something else, but it retains the same content?
Well, of course, now that is abusing the abusing the process, but certainly we can't allow it to be played. So where a program has been rebranded, but the leopard has just changed its spots, we are still able to detect that it's still the same leopard. So I don't think that wins in the end. I think that can only be buying time. But reality soon sets in. As long as the consumer is not happy about a program, UCC has an obligation to listen to that consumer and also listen to the operator, because in the end, we also represent the operator. We listen to the operator as well, because as you know, there is never 100%. You will find a number of people saying that program is not appropriate. Then there will be others who say, oh, no, we love it. We want it as it is. So in the end, the decision making is not black and white. It's not that straightforward. Oh, there is a complaint, then this program goes. If it worked like that, it would be anarchy. So we do try to balance, to listen in and also take a wise and informed decision. So it's not that straightforward. But we do take a decision that is in the best interest of the consumer as far as we are concerned.
Talking about the consumer, there is a World Day of Consumer Protection that sometimes, actually it is always organized by UCC, but this day is so silent. I mean, it is not given enough publicity as it would have, as we expect, because you realize that there are very many international days that are celebrated, they're given a lot of vibe, if I can call it like that. And this day, even when you celebrate it of recent, the other time it was at the railway grounds, that some people don't even know that actually this day is our day as consumers, so we should be interested in knowing what UCC is doing to protect us as consumers. What is your take on this? Is there any intervention that at one time it will be a day celebrated nationally, where everyone will embrace this day and understand that there is really this day that safeguards the rights of you as a consumer of content?
Yes, of course we can only bite off the chunk that is connected to our sector, which is communication. So consumers, we have consumers of communication services, but they are consumers of many other services. So on World Consumer Rights Day, I think that's March 15, we normally focus on the sector, consumers of communication services, and we go out of our way. Normally we do like more than a week-long activities in an area that we would have chosen, and we go out and reach out to people and listen to them and organize some mobilization activities and awareness activities about how consumers can be protected in the while consuming communication services. We do media outreaches on radio and TV, in print. We try as much as possible to make a big deal out of it. We involve other stakeholders. We don't work alone. So we involve even consumer rights, consumer promotion, consumer rights groups. There are quite a number, consumer groups of that nature, associations, and we do try to engage them as well and involve them in our activities. So they may not have become the big national celebration that they have.
Where we have the president as the chief guest.
But we are nevertheless, we do make a big buzz out of them within the sector, and most people involved in the sector would pay attention to that, because then we do reach out, and we can't cover the whole country at once, so we normally pick on an area and go and actually make a big statement in that particular area in regard to raising awareness about people's rights, and consumers in particular.
Do you do any follow-up?
We also, in fact, do what we call a consumer parliament, which doesn't happen in March, normally comes a bit later, around May, and still we go out there and have a large setup where this is created along the lines of an ordinary parliament, but here we are we invite operators, we invite telecom companies at the highest level, their CEOs or top managers and broadcasters and all the other entities that are regulated by UCC, and so we invite them and we ask them to, alongside us as regulators, to then interface with the public. Now the public is invited, are of course represented by consumer groups and maybe other groups, women, youth, and PWDs, all sorts of groups cutting across our society as we know it. So we normally bring them up within that setup called the Consumer Parliament, and then they raise petitions. They raise petitions and then they get answers right away. Answers from the regulator, answers from the operators right there. So that too is one of the things that we do within our consumer protection mandate.
It's quite interesting. I should attend one.
Next time we should invite you for the
indeed
for the consumer parliament.
One.
Yes.
But moving away from UCC's mandate, there is something that is really so rampant, where as you're here, you see a new number calling you. Hello, I'm calling from MTN. Do you know that we are blocking your line in the next few hours? If you do not deposit any money, what, or you press this code and what, or sometimes they tell you you've won this and this and this out of this MTN promotion or Airtel promotion, or there is this rotary that was on, you've won. I mean, there is a lot. And then of late, some others, do you have anyone who wants to work on a truck that transports fuel? I mean, such things. And I believe even someone following us now might have been a victim even this morning, because they I don't know, in the first place, where do these people get these contacts from? How do they have access to the contacts of the viewers, of the clients?
Should I tell you something, Edwin? I've been called several times. No, but now, if you laugh that I've been called, then you should laugh harder that the former executive director of UCC told us she had been called.
Oh.
So you can imagine calling the executive director of UCC and
UCC.
say, hello, I am calling from MTN. They say MTN via UCC or Airtel via UCC, and there's something about your SIM card registration.
Calling you that executive director.
So yes, the calls are real, they come in. And so basically what I can say is that the more we've embraced ICTs, the more we've embraced communication technology, the more we've opened up opportunities for also Buffett to thrive. Now, they will always take advantage of situations like that, and so that's how they come in. And that's how we came up by coining something called Tom Ferrer, basically, which is Don't Call Me. And that's the program we run to basically sensitize people against this vice, these practices. And basically what we tell people is that be vigilant. You're not going to win in a lottery that you've not entered. How, you've won. What have I won? If I haven't entered a lottery, how am I winning anything? But you see, we do get excited as people, and sometimes, of course, things that sound free can feel nice for all of us. Something that sounds free feels nice. If they or a deal, we talk about deals in Kampala. We like to talk about deals. Get a deal and then have a good life thereafter. So we do get tempted to listen to such things, even when they sound too good to be true. But what we keep on telling our consumers is that if it sounds too good to be true, it's probably too good to be it's too good. So be wary. But to go back to your question,
how do they get access to our contacts?
How do they get access to this is how they get access to our contacts. You alluded to SIM card registration earlier.
Yes.
And indeed, we've had a very, very successful SIM card registration exercise. I remember at one of these consumer parliaments that we mentioned, the former managing director, former CEO of MTN Uganda said he had been to many places and he had not seen as robust SIM card registration exercise as we had conducted in Uganda. So we've done very well in that area, but this is where the gaps exist. Every system has some gaps which can be exploited by unscrupulous people. Now the gaps exist where I lose my phone with the SIM card in it, and then I do not report that I've lost my phone. I go ahead and maybe register another number and life goes on. Then what happens is somebody who has stolen your phone may not even have just stolen it for the set. They may have stolen it for the SIM card. The SIM card is more valuable than the phone itself. So you might think, oh, I have my Katochi, why would anyone steal it? They're interested, they could be interested in the SIM card. So what do they do with the SIM card? The SIM card has Edwin. It's registered in the name of Edwin. So they go ahead and use that SIM card to do anything, to call James and try to con them and tell them you've won, or tell them you have not registered this or the other. So that's one way. So basically, what we advise people, what we advise consumers is guard your SIM card jealously. If you lose your phone, report immediately so that it is to the police, of course, and then to the operator, so that your number can be blocked.
Is there a provision?
So that's one way. Okay. Another way is we also, you mentioned also that we are allowed to register a number of SIM cards. Yeah. If you have some people who you brought in from the village to work at your farm, you're using your SIM card, your NIN and your biometrics to register them. 5 workers you brought in. Or you have visitors from abroad. You have relatives from abroad, they have come in, and so you kind of go and use your number, use your NIN and use your biometrics to register a line for them. Now, when they have left the scene, when they have abandoned they moved on, and you forget that you actually used your NIN to register these people. So then what happens to those numbers? The numbers can fall in the wrong hands, and those numbers can be used. And such numbers have been used before. And then suddenly you are being called by the police. Oh, there was a murder here, and your number was used. Wow. And then you're thinking, me? Associated with murder? How is that possible? So the third way is another way which is really, really absurd, because then this is it's also possible that at some places where we get our SIM cards, you can have unscrupulous people can use people who conduct SIM card registration to basically register more. You present your NIN and biometrics for one line, and then it can happen that you are tricked into actually registering more than one line. So if somebody says, oh, your biometric, it hasn't worked, do it again. It could be that they have actually taken one registration and they're taking another and another. And those extra lines, they are not unregistered, they are registered. They can be used, they can be sold to people who are going to use them for wrong purposes, for evil intentions. That too can happen. So basically, what happens now is not really failure of registration. It's more of identity theft. The way you can be on X or any other social media network, and then somebody basically hacks in, and then suddenly becomes Edwin. And then you have to scramble to stop them, because then you yourself can't access your own. So what we see is more of identity theft than lack of registration.
Okay. So, wow, this is really serious, and it's really absurd, like you said, that this happens. And now pity for our ignorant people in the villages who are just told, no, your print can't be scanned again and over 10 times, and they never know. They don't even know how to check how many numbers are registered under your ID. I mean, it's a lot. But the minister also said that at one point someone called him and told him that, Mr. Valiomonsi, you're going to be live on radio between this time, and then the minister backed. And so they called him, he was on radio, but he had informed one of his bodyguards in the next car that you switch on, I'm going to be on this radio. So the bodyguard tells him, Honorable, they're just playing music on this radio, you're not live. Anyway, there is a lot, but we are taking a short commercial break. When we return, we are going to continue from there.
Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
This is Church of Uganda Family TV, enriching lives. This is Church of Uganda Family TV, enriching lives. Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
Welcome back from that break. This is Issues at Hand. Adrian Austin Mukalas is my name. We are looking at UCC's quest to safeguard Uganda's digital frontier, because we are in an era of digital migration and there is a lot. However, while we embrace the digital migration, there still lies very many other issues that need to be addressed, and we are delighted that we have Mr. Tumusiime James from the Corporate Affairs Department of the Uganda Communications Commission. But I remind you that Issues at Hand is brought to you by Protea Hotel by Marriott in Entebbe, just near the airport. So comfort and luxury at its best. You do not have to worry. Are you planning to go abroad? Are you afraid you're coming from very far? No, you can have a night there, or you can have some rest there as you wait for your flight. They have best services at the international level. Now, Mr. Tumusiime, we are back with our discussion, and before the break you had actually told us some of the ways through which people access our contacts, access our get very many SIM cards and all that. But now the question that lies is, what is going to be done about this? Because it is already with us. So what should be done?
What should be done? What should be done is what we do. What we do is to try and raise awareness among consumers to take matters in their own hands, to be responsible for their own security, and to guard their SIM cards jealously. We have entered campaigns jointly with telecom operators to try and keep drumming up this message that you should actually, first of all, guard your SIM card jealously, but also be wary of people calling you and promising all sorts of things, heaven and earth, and also stating certain facts that UCC is not going to call you. So this person who calls you and says, "Oh, I'm calling from UCC,"
I'm going to block your number.
Yes, UCC is not going to call you. UCC doesn't deal in SIM cards, so there is no reason why they would be calling you to discuss your SIM card situation. Even the operator will not call you basically on a SIM card related matter. So forget those calls. Anyone who starts with "I am calling from UCC" via MTN or vice versa, whatever it is, or Airtel, they are selling you a lie, and the best way to react, the quickest way to react, is to hang up. I know some people who have kind of tried to play along when they actually understand that it's a game, and then they play along, and then the other guys, of course, get incensed, and you know the abuses that follow.
Yeah.
Normally the phone call ends with an abuse word that can't be said on air, but that's when they find that you're aware. So UCC won't call you, the operator will not call you. Hang up if you detect that this is someone selling me hot air. Or if you're in doubt, call 100. There's nothing that can't wait. You can hang up, and if you think there was a deal there or something maybe that the operator wanted you for, then call 100. 100 is the number that you call to engage the operator, and then you can inquire whether whatever the call that you received was actually genuine or from them or not. And then, of course, don't send money to strangers. Don't deal with strangers. The people you've just met online, and then they are taking you through all these steps and whatnot. Most likely they are leading you down the path of being conned. So don't engage strangers with a view to pass money on to them. If it sounds too good, it probably is too good. And then maybe finally on this, if you want to know how many lines are registered against your number,
your national ID.
Yes, you need to dial *197#. We have that tool, and the tool is *197#. Now, when you dial *197#, then you go, there are a number of options there, about 4 options. You go for the NIN option.
Okay.
Now, when you go for the NIN option, you are going to be required to key in your NIN, and that then you will receive a breakdown, a lineup of numbers that
I
are
see
registered.
here there's a check registration, NIN check, IMEI validation, and retailer.
So you'll go for the NIN, and then you will put in your NIN,
For the NIN.
and then that will give you...
Yeah, I see they say enter NIN or passport ID.
Yes.
Okay.
So then that will they then give you the numbers that are registered against your name.
Okay.
Your NIN. And now then you can decide, is this the number I'm using? If I'm not using it, why is it here? Why don't I go and then engage the operator and get that number struck off? Or else that number could be, it's being used somewhere for this kind of engagements. But also we do, so when a number like that calls you, like I said, call the operator, they can block the number. Call us, our toll-free line, I've told you, 0800 222 We can also block numbers that are engaged in this kind of activity. But basically, the bottom line is, the rule of thumb is, take charge of your own security, take responsibility, don't be sold anything that you hear by somebody, a random person calling you. Yeah.
Well, this is actually very, very important, and I appreciate that you, at least there is this knowledge out there for people to use. You wanted to say something before we
I think, yes, I just wanted to say that it's not our fight alone. It's, so we engage stakeholders, and maybe I alluded to this earlier. We do work with telecom companies. Sometimes you've heard them sending in these messages to tell you pretty much what we are saying. And also we also want the public to join us, so that we are in this together. We work together to defeat this, this scheme. As you can tell, there are certain now schemes that are quite tired now that they no longer use. But they always try to be smarter. They now introduce newer and newer things. But they all rotate around the same thing. The medicine is be vigilant. Take charge of your own security.
There is something that is happening that if you're not using your SIM card, if your SIM card is not active for 6 months, it is blocked automatically, and after some time it is given to someone else. So you call someone who used to be someone you know, and then someone else is having their SIM card. But now we look at our friends, our brothers and sisters who have gone overseas to work. Maybe the contract is 2 years and they wanted to retain this SIM card when they come back, yet after 6 months it is given to someone else. So was this a directive by UCC?
There are rules that were established under the law regulations called the interception of communication, and it didn't necessarily emanate from us, because we are all part of the of government in a way, but it does relate to issues of SIM card registration and also that kind of what you are talking about. So, and the measures that were put in there, sometimes the measures do look maybe unfriendly, but all those measures are actually geared towards trying to protect the consumer. If a SIM card is lying out there for that long and unutilized, maybe that's the kind of SIM card that is likely to land in the wrong hands. So then, basically the regulations required, those regulations require the operator to then kind of put aside that SIM card. But before they do it, they are obliged to engage. They are obliged to engage the owner of this SIM card. Try as much as possible to reach them and actually caution them. You know, even banks do this. When your account has been lying idle for so long, they publish your...
Sometimes they call you directly.
Yes, so they try to call you. So it's the same thing. Telecoms also try to reach out to you to check whether you're actually interested in this SIM card any longer. But basically, by and large, it is a measure intended to add to the framework of protection.
So if someone is going overseas to work, can they report to the telecom company and say, I'm going to work, but my number should remain active until I'm back?
I would like to believe that even when somebody is abroad, they can engage the telecom operator back home. And then they can basically ensure that they can safeguard their SIM card. So I would like to believe that that is possible. Because at least the telecom operator would know that this and this SIM card is probably, like when they are making that check to see whether the person who is registered with this line is available, then maybe then that can be the response they need to see that, oh, somebody is engaging this line, that still needs this line. So basically that's all they would be interested. So I would like to believe that there is a window for that to happen.
Okay.
But like I said, to emphasize that basically the measure is meant to offer additional protection for the consumer.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now, in the recent past, we were all stormed by news one morning that there will be a digital migration for FM radio stations. And this took us back when there was a digital migration for TVs that someone slept. Maybe they stopped watching their TV at around 10 p.m. and by morning they were not able to watch TV until they had a decoder. So people started asking themselves, is it going to be the same thing? Why? Are we failing out on the radios? What is the fate of the people selling radios? How is this going to be? I mean, what is the whole thing of radio digitalization?
All right. Radio remains the most commonly used medium of communication for Ugandans and many other countries, I believe. But for Uganda, it is by far the most used medium of communication, of information, basically of information dissemination. So majority of people in our communities rely on radio for their information needs. Now, when compared to, say, television and print media and even online. And the reasons are quite clear. It's still a bit affordable, it's convenient, and it is. So radio is that important in our communication ecosystem. But at the same time, this radio that is this important, radio frequency spectrum is a scarce resource. It's not unlimited. So that's why people apply. We already have about 300 radio stations, but we get more and more applications every other day. Every other day we get newer applications for radio frequency spectrum. But it is saturated. It's not there. So basically people are told, no, you can't. You might have everything that is required, but you will be unable to set up an FM station in this area because the airwaves are, radio frequency spectrum is saturated. So now, digital audio broadcasting is an attempt to use technology to alleviate this issue, because then it creates a bit more space and several other advantages that I'm talking about. So that's where we are coming from. But in addition to that, maybe to take you back, in 2011, the government passed the digital migration policy. So the digital migration policy of the government is the one from which the issue of TV that you mentioned arose. That was in response to that. Now, at that time, what was dealt with was television. It was the urgent issue. Now, so this is also an intervention in that line. But it may not necessarily happen the same way, and it is still in very early stages. Because then UCC in 2023, just last year in September, launched a pilot project. A pilot project on digital audio broadcasting. And the idea was to try and understand how it works and the technical issues, the content production and development issues, and digital audio broadcasting, and so that pilot is a 1-year pilot. It concludes in October, which is next month. So the results of that pilot will inform how then we move towards digital movement from analog radio to digital radio. This pilot is covering large parts of the greater Kampala. It's 80-kilometer radius from Summit View, Kololo. And so that's the year-long pilot that is ongoing that will basically inform that UCC's intervention in this area. But it's unlikely to be as dramatic as it was with television. But it does have several advantages. As I said, the radio frequency spectrum is not unlimited. It is scarce and it is saturated. And so this is an opportunity to get more broadcasters, and also therefore for the consumer to get more varied content. It's an opportunity for efficiency in communication and several other advantages that come with it.
Okay. So we've seen, because someone still asks, is the digital audio broadcast going to be now on TV, or it will be on radio but in a different way, or on phone? How is it going to be? So will someone need to have a TV in order to access radio? Because we've seen some radios, maybe to be specific, we've seen radios like Radio 1, Next Radio, and I think Impact Radio on TV, on Star Times and what. So when you switch on your decoder, you can even see, have these radios and listen through. So is that how it's going to be? Did these people go ahead of time before UCC?
Digital radio is different from online radio.
Okay.
Because online radio is using internet. And so if you are not connected to the internet, you may not access online radio. But actually digital radio will be offline.
Okay.
So there is some, yes, there are devices that will be needed, infrastructure that will be needed, but it's of a different kind. And I should also say that it's kind of started, but in slow mode, because right now there are some radio, there are some new car models that are coming, being produced and even coming into Uganda with that capability, with digital or audio broadcasting radio, with digital radio therein. So it is different from online radio.
No, I mean, someone switches on their TV, yeah, and then there is a radio station somewhere called Radio 1 somewhere on the TV, but when they switch through on their TV, they're listening to radio. They're not seeing the visual. It's like what they see on TV, but they're just listening through.
I do get you, but oh yes, that's I get you now. Now, like I said, early stages, the pilot project ongoing. So I wouldn't encourage us to go into the technical.
No, what I was saying is that should we expect something like that, or this one is a little different?
There will be radio as we know it. There are devices. Digital radio does exist as a device, so that will be there. But then, like I said, there's also radio in the car. So if there's radio in the car, there's probably also going to be radio on your TV and on your phone, using the same. The way
we have decoders, both pay TV and free to air.
Because I think it's well understood that radio now is no longer just about the device. It comes to us through different aspects.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, this is quite interesting, but also, of course, someone might be worried of what this whole thing will be, but I think it is all for the good. So we are waiting to see that happen when its due time is. But as we draw closer to this discussion, kindly give us your closing remarks about the three aspects we've looked at.
I think number one, our consumer protection mandate. Basically, like I said, we have a broad mandate across telecommunication, across broadcasting, across postal and courier services, across radio communication, across data communication, and across infrastructure. And then, so in that regard, we appreciate feedback and from our consumers in that in those aspects. We always go out of their way to try and explain our mandate and expect that we do get the public to support us and enable us to achieve this mandate, because we wouldn't do it without them. It's a broad mandate, but it's a very important mandate for our country to move forward. So that was point number one. Now, point number two was about cybercrime, and but my point there was we need, as consumers, and that includes all of us. Like I told you, even the executive director of UCC has been called. So it's all of us, and we need to take charge of our own security, to be vigilant and not just be swayed by anyone who calls us promising heaven and earth, telling us we've won in a lottery that we've not participated in. But also, it's important for our viewers to take note of the 197. Star 197 hash. Use that to check whether your number, your NIN, is registered against multiple phone lines that you are not using. Because if you are not using them, someone somewhere might be using them and actually not using them, but abusing them. And unfortunately, when it's registered in your name and is used to commit a crime, it's you the police will come to. And now you have to explain yourself. I wasn't there, I was here, and you don't want to be caught in that. Then lastly, digital audio broadcasting, the point is that it is early stages. A pilot project was established by UCC, covering the greater Kampala, 80 kilometers radius, and it's from this pilot that we will be able to pave a way forward to see how we can actually integrate this technology into the existing technology, so that we can replace analog. These days people talk about analog. Analog is the thing of the past. So really, the future is digital. And so we need to embrace it. It has several advantages, but that's another discussion for another day, because as I said, the pilot is ongoing, it's concluding soon, and that will inform how we proceed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tumusiime, and thank you so much to you, our viewer, from wherever we started from up to now. Of course, way back at 7 with Good Morning Family, and here we are getting closer to issues at hand. I want to thank you so much. You've been a good viewer. Edwin Austin Mukalazi is my name. Today, I think I was the only gentleman. I've worked with ladies, Jacqueline and Hope, way back in Good Morning Family, and very many other people out there that are doing a lot of things to see that you have this image. And from the entire team, have a good day.
Issues at Hand, powered by